For decades, this guy was more myth than man, right? A total phantom who terrorized communities and then just vanished. He left behind nothing but fear and a ton of unanswered questions. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how investigators finally put a name and a face to one of history's most elusive monsters.
And that, right there, was the huge problem facing law enforcement. See, this wasn't just some killer. He was a ghost. He moved through the shadows, he seemed to know their every move, and for year after agonizing year, he was completely invisible. I mean, seriously, how do you possibly put handcuffs on a phantom? 30 years. Just let that sink in for a second. For 3 whole decades, a monster walked free. An entire generation grew up under the shadow of his crimes. Cases went cold, detectives retired, and for the families of the victims, you can imagine, hope was starting to fade. This wasn't just some manhunt, it was a total marathon of frustration.
All right, so let's start at the beginning of this impossible problem. To really get how he was caught, we first have to appreciate why, for so long, everyone thought he was completely uncatchable. You know this quote from one of the lead investigators? It just says it all. It perfectly captures the pure terror and that deep feeling of helplessness. Just try to imagine it. You're tasked with stopping a force that feels, well, almost supernatural. He wasn't just a criminal. He was a shadow, a terror, something that felt fundamentally unstoppable. So the investigation itself pretty much became this story of chasing a ghost. It was just this endless cycle of near misses, promising leads that just evaporated into thin air, and the constant crushing weight of one dead end after another.
And wow, this timeline, it just lays out the long, cold road of this case perfectly. It all starts in 1986 with a complete puzzle. No witnesses, no forced entry, nothing. 5 years later, in 91, they get what should be a massive breakthrough, a DNA profile, but bam, they hit a brick wall. No matches, anywhere. By 1999, the trail is so cold, they actually shelve the case. Even when a new task force reopens it in 2010, they can't make any headway. It's just a timeline of pure frustration.
Okay, so what's so fascinating here is the massive information gap it shows. Investigators, believe it or not, knew a lot about his methods. They knew he was meticulous, they knew he struck at random, they even had his DNA, his biological signature. But then you look at that other column. They didn't have his name, his face, his motive, or where on earth he was hiding. So they had the blueprint of a ghost, but they couldn't find the actual person.
But then, after all those years, all that darkness, something finally changed. A new idea, a new piece of technology, created the first real crack of light in this whole case. This, right here, was the turning point.
And this was it, the game changer. It's called Investigative Genetic Genealogy. And the idea, honestly, was as simple as it was brilliant. You take the killer's DNA, that piece of evidence that had been a dead end for years, and you search for him. Not in a criminal database, but in public genealogy websites. The goal wasn't to find the killer directly. It was to find his family. Basically to hunt the ghost through his own bloodline. Incredible. And this is exactly how that ghost hunt turned into a genealogical manhunt. So, step 1, they upload the profile. And then step 2, they get a hit. Bingo! It's not the killer, but a distant relative, a third cousin. So from that one tiny link, they start painstakingly building this massive family tree, going back generations, all the way to the 1800s. Then it's almost like something out of a detective novel. They just start eliminating branches of the tree based on age, location, other factors, until only one person is left.
And just like that, after 30 years of going nowhere, the investigation just explodes. It starts moving at lightning speed. The ghost was finally taking shape, and the net was closing in, fast.
Oh man, you can just feel the electricity in this quote, can't you? This is that eureka moment. Just think about it. You've spent years staring at this unbelievably complex family tree, and then suddenly, after crossing off hundreds of names, one name just clicks. It fits the location, it fits the age, it fits the profile. After 30 long years, they knew they had their man. And so here it is, the name they found at the very end of that long, branching road. Famous serial killer's name. The ghost, the shadow, the faceless monster. He finally had an identity. And then it happened. On April 24th, 2018, that long chase was finally over. There was no dramatic shootout, no high-speed pursuit. It was just a quiet arrest that brought a 3-decade reign of terror to a definitive close. The ghost was caught. So when you look back at all of this, you gotta ask, how did this actually happen? How did a monster who was supposed to be uncatchable finally fall? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was this powerful combination of old evidence and some brilliant new thinking.
All right, let's break down the 4 big keys that finally unlocked this thing. First, there was the biological key, that single piece of DNA just patiently waiting for decades. Second, the technological key, the rise of these public genealogy databases, a tool nobody saw coming. Third was intellectual, the sheer ingenuity of investigators who figured out how to connect that old evidence to this new method. And the fourth key, that was just pure chance. The monster was caught because years ago, some distant relative, someone he probably never even knew existed, decided to check out their family tree online. And that one simple act, well, it ended up flagging a killer.
And that just leaves us with this one final, pretty chilling thought, doesn't it? This case proved that maybe there's no such thing as a perfect crime, just investigations that haven't found the right key yet. I mean, if a ghost from 30 years ago can be found because of a family tree, who else is out there, just hiding in plain sight? Maybe just one distant cousin away from being found.